right, you've entered the panel, Libertarianism and the Anti-War Movement. If you find there's a conflict between the two, you probably walked into the wrong room. Here we have very fortunate to have an amazing panel with us today. We have Will Hopkins, the Executive Director of New Hampshire Peace Action. He's an vet of the war in Iraq and also a board member. You're also involved in Veterans for Peace.
I'm on the National Board of Vets for Peace.
And next to him we have Alex Peterson. You're the current president of your college, Libertarians.
I'm just actually passing it over to Nick Murray as I get ready to start a master's program. But I do a lot of anti-war work with them, and then also with collaboration with the Peace and Justice League too.
And you're also a veteran.
Right, a veteran.
And next we're very fortunate to have Dr. John Walsh, a longtime anti-war activist who's a contributor, consultant to ComeHomeAmerica.us, which we'll be talking about, and writes for Antiwar.com and Counterpunch and several other journals that have been absolutely consistent on the war issue pretty much since the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and just make my opening gambit, which I'm sure will be offensive and people will carp about later, but I'm going to start with this. Anything I've probably, Lee says I need to speak louder. Forget probably anything you've ever heard me say about libertarianism and my approach to it when it comes to the anti-war movement. Because today we're starting with a whole fresh new slate. Our approach to the anti-war movement has been so wrong and so off that we just need to begin. But the first thing we need to do is drop the libertarianism as soon as we enter the door to the room. That has to be the first thing to go. The war issue is so crucial and so fundamental because what we're not talking about, we're not just talking about the fact that my money, which is stolen from me, and that's what it is, it's stolen money that goes to pay for occupation and murder and torture. That's what it's doing. It's paying for occupation, murder, and torture, and that's the real issue. People are dying. The United States government does things that we say other countries do all the time. We participate in that. This issue is of the utmost importance to anyone who actually believes in human rights and justice.
Here.
Therefore, we need to do the real Rothbardian thing and the real libertarian thing and forget about our libertarianism and the party and come to the anti-war movement as people who are sincere and dedicated to focusing on this sole issue and getting this to be the first way we roll back the empire and ultimately rolling back the state. And with that approach, I'm going to say things I've never said before, but there needs to be a new anti-war movement. In fact, I call it the new peace movement. And we've been handed once again, Barack Obama has handed us another great opportunity because we saw how moderate liberal participation in the movement literally dried up as the roll-up to Obama's nomination when we realized that Hillary Clinton was not going to be the nominee. And they literally tapped the moderate liberal segment of the anti-war movement and completely neutralized it. Barack Obama, who does not have any anti-war record to speak of, and who voted all 4 times when he had an opportunity to vote against war spending, voted for war spending, made one speech in 2007 about Iraq, and was able to ride the PR that he was the anti-war candidate. Of course, libertarians know better. That pretty much destroyed the active anti-war movement. Code Pink chapters began drying up, donations at antiwar.com, people were writing in saying, well, what will you be doing now with your life now that Obama is going to be pulling us out of certain countries?
But that was before you got the Peace Prize.
Convincing people like you.
Exactly. So, in fact, I'd say the war issue is so crucial, it's probably part of the reason why Dr. Phillies and Mr. Hancock and Judge Buttrick and Dr. Ruart, this is why there's been sort of a unifying here because the libertarians, and because the anti-war movement is stagnant, that's if I'm being polite. So what do we do now since we have no anti-war movement? Any coalition that's going to make massive change has to, first of all, the social changes, I think Dr. Walsh will probably talk about a little bit, has to come from the right. It has to be a broad-based coalition. It has to be positive. That's why I say the new peace movement. And we have to use language that doesn't alienate people. We have to stop using terms like occupation and start talking about lighter footprints. We have to start talking about, instead of talking about anti-war, we talk about a constitutional foreign policy. We use language that's going to bring in, and the people I'm going to list off are the people we absolutely must bring in if we're going to have any success in rolling back the empire. The new peace movement must be open to Christians, it must be open to white men, it must be welcoming to Midwesterners, and must be attentive to some degree to bourgeois sensibilities. The only way we're going to win this most controversial of issues, the issue that really divides us, because it exposes people's racism and religious bigotry constantly. And it really does show you who they are. When you see them, and you see people, and we've all had that experience when we talk to someone and we realize they really do support the open-air prison in Gaza. They really do support the droning of families in Pakistan. And you think to yourself, my God, I feel sick. We have to get past all of that. We need to find new ways of talking to people. We need to talk to Tea Party people. We need to talk to real conservatives, not Ron Paul people. Ron Paul people are not conservatives in any sense. I don't know why we keep saying that. But we need to actually speak out to real America and bring them in. And the first thing we have to do is stop seeding the anti-war movement to answer rallies. God bless Answer. Those crazy Marxists, they do the right thing all the time and having their little festivals, but it's a zoo. And you cannot win people by handing them cards. Hey, here's your free abortion rights cards. And you can't walk up to every Christian family and start bombarding them with everything about gay marriage. And you can't have it all be led by social, racial, and religious minorities. It needs to have actual white male leadership so it looks like the respectable people who are peaceful and patriotic, because that's the thing, peace is patriotic. But the only way we're going to sell that is if we stop with the stridency and appeal to normal people. That's my whole pitch, and I'm going to start with that. Will, take it away.
I'm Will with New Hampshire Peace Action. I'm a bit of a leftist, but I spend a lot of time going around to events with other leftists and saying, you know, what the anti-war movement needs to do is we need to drop that left-wing socialist bullshit when we walk in the door, which is amazing to hear Angela say that, like, oh, thank you. Because this is such a huge issue. I mean, when you look at our budget and the way that we're, you know, how much of that money, I mean, I was organizing around the protests to the New Hampshire budget. And when I was organizing it, my message was, we need to have our message there. Not a lot of people came out from New Hampshire Peace Action to that, but the idea was, let people see how much money we're spending on the war, and let them see how small what's going on in the state budget is compared to that in Normandy. This overshadows everything. It is our budget. It is our deficit and our debt. And it's something that, it's something that when you talk to people in the right language, when I sit down as a veteran across the table from somebody who thinks that they're a Barack Obama supporter or a Mitt Romney supporter, I talk about Afghanistan and I say, in counterinsurgency theory, you need 20 combat troops for every 1,000 civilians. Given the population of Afghanistan, that's 567,000 troops, more than 5 times the current number of troops we have there. You need to do that for 9 to 15 years. There is nobody who sits there and goes, yeah, we should keep doing this in Afghanistan, because the numbers are obvious. I mean, as we've increased our troop levels, violence has gone up. The influence of the Taliban has increased. We've continued to lose more and more American troops. And it's something that there's nobody who says, yeah, that works. This is a place where we can really, if you can sit someone down and give them a 5-minute talk on the military budget, on the way that we're spending our money and what that's doing overseas and how that's making us less safe, you can bring everybody to the table, and you can have a real movement. And I'm always grateful to have libertarians come to my events, and most of them are a little quiet that they're libertarians, but it's I brought a Free State, I brought a Free State Project member on the board of New Hampshire Peace Action, to the resistance of some of my board members, but I think it's important that we're working together, that we're reaching across that aisle. So I'll pass it on to Alex.
Well, I'm Alex Peterson. I came from a very, very strong neoconservative background type of family. So growing up through that, and then joining the military after high school, and I did the whole 6 years in the military, but it was that service in the military and then going to Iraq that actually made me, that and hearing Ron Paul while I was in the military, it made me realize all these misconceptions I had about overseas intervention. And also talking to people, whatever argument they use to defend the war, a lot of them just come from like these various misconceptions people have of why we're there. Like for me, it was freedom. These terrorists were going to come here and attack us, and everyone over there hated us. And I remember one individual, we were on a mission that we had captured, And I asked him why he was fighting us, and I was expecting this answer, we hate America, we want to kill you all, Islam, you know, all those like things like that. And then he's like, well, what would you do if there were soldiers walking down your neighborhood street with tanks and guns? And then he went on this, like, if every bomb that's an accident, because we all know that happens, that kills someone's brother, sister, father, mother, like that's someone's family member, and if that was happening to you, what would you do? It had nothing to do with hating America, wanting to come over here and attack us, it had nothing to do with religion. And so there's just all these misconceptions like that people have, and the reality of the situation is the longer we're there, the more enemies we're creating because of things like that. And then soldiers, because a lot of my friends end up realizing this while we're there, and then they're being put in a situation where they're being forced to defend themselves against people, like innocent people that are just acting rationally, like how you would if you were in their situation. And so coming back, changing my views and coming into the libertarian movement, and then actually slowly shifting, and now I guess you could call me a voluntarist or an anarcho-capitalist or whatever it is, but the war has always been one of the #1 issues because it connects to everything. It connects to the economy, it connects to civil liberties. If we're using aggression overseas and killing people over there, how can we expect the government to stop aggressing against its own people? I mean, it's just non-aggression and the war just connects to every single aspect. So no matter what group you're working with, there's something with the anti-war movement that you can form coalitions with people to get them involved. In the university level, we've worked with college Republicans more on the constitutional side. And at first they were kicking us out of their meetings and they didn't want to have anything to do with it. But lately they've been a lot more open to the anti-war movement. And they've helped us, they actually helped us against a lot of the stuff with Libya going on. Now most of them are all on board with protesting Iraq and Afghanistan, which a few years ago never happened. And with the Democrats, we've had a lot of success with Peace and Justice League. And because we approached them, and we actually went to their rallies and just helped them out. We didn't talk to them about politics or any our libertarian views. We just helped them on the anti-war movement. And just working with them on the anti-war movement fostered discussion on libertarian ideas just in off time, so it also brought them closer to some of our ideas and created these new connections with these different groups. So the anti-war is like a movement that can kind of like spread out to various different groups and really focus on one thing, and that connects everything. And it's definitely a very, very important issue today, especially with the amount of spending that's going on. And it's perfect with universities, it's also a great place to focus on that, because you have these 4 years of student lives where they have the time to really intellectually like focus on different things, and they're kind of forming their ideas before they go out in the world. So it's also a great period to spread the ideas of non-intervention and like get that word out too, because it's that area where people are like kind of developing their own perspectives of the world around them.
My name is John Walsh, and I guess I would be more or less considered a man of the left. I'm certainly for things like single-payer health care, etc. But I think the left, and I mean the left broadly speaking, Democratic Party, I've never really considered that of the left, but for the purposes of this conversation, and the rest, have failed miserably in stopping war, which is supposed to be a big part of their agenda. And I think if you think for a moment about the main movement on the left against war, it's called United for Peace and Justice. So it's not a peace movement. It's not an anti-war movement. It's a peace and justice movement. Now, my ideas of justice are going to be very different from other people's ideas of justice. And so, right there, there's a narrowing of the base for the anti-war movement. Right there, you can see something is wrong. So, you have to ask yourself a question. 60% or more of the American populace is against these wars. So why can't we stop them?